Guys, we need to talk about Fantom. Was I wrong? Have I lost my conviction? Am I selling post a $200 million multi-chain hack? You guys have been asking. I haven't purposely not spoken about this for whatever a week since our hot interview with Michael Kong, covering off what happened and what the foundation's plan was to recover the funds. So I just wanted to make this quick video with you guys to kind of share my sentiment around Fantom. Now remember, none of this is financial advice. You always, like I've always said from the start of this channel, you've got to do your own research, and ultimately investing is about taking risks. Now let's cover off the main questions here. First and foremost, has my conviction changed in Fantom? We've got to say yes. Right? I'd be sitting in a hole with my head buried in the sand if I wasn't to say that after speaking to Michael Kong last week, after seeing what's happened, has my conviction in the project shaken? It has. Now, has it? Now we need to understand, where is this shaken conviction come from? Let's get to the root cause. Is it an issue with the tech stack of Fantom? No. Is it an issue with what we believed Fantom had in terms of potential of being a great project? That's where we need to explore, because what I found challenging to understand is the response by the Fantom team. And you've got to understand specifically with this multi-chain issue, there was alarm bells ringing a couple of months prior. You guys know that with the first, when the CEO of multi-chain disappeared, Fantom Foundation could have done a lot better in hindsight, and they should have, to protect the ecosystem. It seemed like, from my perspective, they were doing the most to protect multi-chain and their reputation as a bridge, when their primary focus should have been the ecosystem, should have been the dApp developers and the holders of the tokens in the ecosystem. So for me, that is a big red flag, and that's a worry for me. So I cannot sit here and say that my conviction is not shaken in how the team crisis managed. Crisis management is really important for a team, guys. Now, a lot of projects have not been for a crisis like this, so they wouldn't be able to tell you how they would act in a $200 million hack. Fantom has at least been through that process, but they haven't come out with flying colors, right? We saw with Terra Luna and Do-Kwon, it was almost non-existent. We saw with some elements of when Binance have had issues, sometimes the crisis management is not the best, right? It's difficult to crisis manage, but that was something that definitely needs some improvement on the Fantom side. The comms, the way they dealt with it, the fact that they kind of were covering for multi-chain instead of thinking for their users, is a bit of a problem for me. Now again, I'd be remiss if I didn't cover off the fact that, look, the tech stack held up, right? The tech stack of Fantom, they still don't have crazy downtime like we've seen with other blockchains. They're still technologically advanced and have all the things that we've been talking about here on this channel. But we've got to raise that as a concern. Now that brings me to the question of, am I buying the dip? Am I selling? What am I doing with my personal investment? Now, currently, I'm not selling my Fantom, right? And like I said, that is because my personal belief in the project hasn't fully changed in terms of their tech stack, in terms of what they are building. Now that's taken a huge blow, right? Of course, trust has taken a hit, the ecosystem has taken a hit, total value locked has taken a hit, and it's going to take time to recover. Maybe they will never recover. You've got to understand this with investments. If you guys have been watching my videos and my breakdowns of various different tokens, I have my base case, I have my target case, I have my stretch case and my moon case, right? So as long as I can return my funds, that's the most important thing in terms of my investments in my portfolio. And now, the kind of returns where I was excited for Fantom hitting in the next bull run, maybe we have to revise those. Maybe we have to take another look at the TA and the levels to say, with this major blow, maybe it's set them back a year or two. And then the question will come, if they're set back a year or two in terms of hitting their price potential, what if new tech comes out, right? And we've spoken about this. And that brings me on to my other point, which is shaking my conviction. And that is the lack of marketing. We've spoken about this before, and this is not even to do with the multi-chain hack, guys. What we've spoke about, and I've spoken to Simone Pomposi on this channel, the CMO of Fantom on this channel, right? I've spoken to Michael Kong, the CEO of the Fantom on this channel. The marketing aspect's just not there. They've got great tech, but if nobody knows it exists, what's the point, right? You've got to be able to attract the best dApp developers. That's the key. We've spoken about it at length. So the risk here, which you have to account for, is if you're just riding on your tech, but then another new great blockchain comes out next year or in the midst of the bull run with better tech. Because remember, tech gets better every year. So a new blockchain spins up with better tech, but this time with better marketing than Fantom. That is the competitor that could shun Fantom out of the position that they're looking for. So we've got to weigh this in as well. Now, very important, you've got to understand what is your cost basis. I was very fortunate enough to be buying Fantom in very long time ago, before all the hype. I was on buying at the peaks in $3, right? So I've got myself a very low cost basis. A lot of my purchases were around 15, 16, had a chance to dollar cost average down as well. So I can make that decision based on me, that I personally don't want to sell. What you do for your portfolio is based on your needs, right? It's based on your conviction, on your research. And hopefully this can be a little bit part of your research, but you've got to do a bunch more. You've got to test your conviction, say, do I believe in this project? Is this a project I want to hold? And what has fundamentally changed? And when I answer that last one in terms of what has fundamentally changed, it's not the tech stack, it's not the team's willingness or effort, or I think they're shady. No, I don't think they're shady. I just think they just missed a trick in terms of crisis managing the situation, and they could have been more proactive in protecting the community versus covering for multi-chain. That's my personal view. Now, that then brings me on to the topic of, am I buying the dip? Because whenever you get a crisis like this, the people who believe in a project, straight away they come out and go, oh, this is just FUD, I'm buying the dip. Guys, I want to clarify something. This is not FUD, right? I know Fantom has been disproportionately affected by the multi-chain hack, but there are other chains affected as well. The reason Fantom is being targeted more is because they were more heavily reliant on this bridge. Other ecosystems had different bridges. All the dApps were using this bridge, all the people using the Fantom ecosystem were using this bridge, and that's why they're taking a hit. This is not just FUD. So for you to be buying the dip, you've got to understand what you're doing. If you have long-term conviction and you're buying the dip for that reason, great. If you're just buying it because you're saying, oh, this is FUD and I'm going to buy it because it's a red day, that doesn't always work. You've got to understand what has fundamentally changed. And they have taken a blow. And this is not a blow that's just going to recover straight away. Now, of course, price action has been holding up pretty well here. Yes, the markets have been slow and sideways recently, but you've got to evaluate your positions. And for me, that's where I'm at right now. I'm not selling, I'm not buying. And I'm going to bide my time, see how the team respond. Remember, the funds are still frozen, right? There's no confirmation that the funds are coming back, nor that they're lost forever. We're in this like limbo period. So I'm going to do the same with my portfolio. I'm going to sit in a limbo period. But definitely on my tally chart, that's a little bit of a cross, that the crisis management was not there. When push came to shove, they weren't able to deal with that. And it shows that they've got a long way to go into maturing into a big project that could stand in the top 10. Hopefully that wrapped up a few of the misconceptions around Fantom and my view, and where I'm sitting here 1 week after that interview and having reflected on it with Michael Kong. Let me know in the comments, how do you feel about your Fantom position? And I just want to close on the fact that, guys, you've got to take personal responsibility with your portfolio. Part of investing is losing. That's part of it, right? Part of it is winning. Part of it is just getting your money back. That's the investment game. You'll win on some projects, you'll lose on other projects. You'll mooncase on some projects, you'll barely hit your base target on other projects. You've got to be able to invest, and ultimately you've got to take risk based on your risk appetite and your financial situation, which nobody else knows apart from you. So take accountability, put in the work, do the research, have your morals and ethics by which you stand by to say, this is a red line for me. If a project does this, I'm selling my bags. I don't care what the price is. I no longer believe in them. And for me on Fantom, that is like a catastrophic fail, right? If the actual tech failed, if the CEO did something shady, if the team did something shady, if they weren't focused on what they're doing, if they started moving into a different avenue, even though they said they want to be one of the best layer 1 blockchains, those are the red lines for me in a project. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.